27 February 2020. In 1982, our family moved into the suburb of Entumbane. So this is an area about 5 kilometers from the CBD of Bulawayo, soon after D Square. There were some flats there where we were staying, and soon after, some soldiers or ex-combatants were moved into the area. So there was a fence that was put up, and a lot of people who used to fight in the bush were put into that place. Their weapons were taken away, but as young boys, we would often walk to that camp and look inside. They were also allowed to come out at certain times. And after some time, relationships began to break down in the community. So we're staying in a flat. If you know D Square, there is a number of flats on the left. If you're coming from town, you turn right, and on your left, there are some flats there. The area in front, that's where the camp was for these ex-combatants. So relationships started to break down in Bulawayo. So basically, there was a lot of mistrust between Ndebeles and Shonas. The guys in the camp were partly responsible for this situation. And the reason being, some of them had weapons. So when they came from the war, they were supposed to hand in their weapons. But instead of handing in the weapons, they would take these weapons and hide them in houses nearby. And then, because of the tribal issues, some of the people would go and spy on these people with weapons to the police, and people would be raided. Some of the weapons that were kept included landmines. So one day, an old man was digging in his garden and was actually hit by a landmine. I remember that case. And this might seem far-fetched, but these kind of things happened. There was also a lot of Malawian people in the blocks of flats. So there was a lot of Shona people, a lot of Malawian people, and obviously the local Ndebele people. Now, as the tension grew in the city, people started to, this spying went on, and the camp caused a lot of problems, because inside that camp was Zanla and Zipra forces. So there was a lot of chaos in the area in the time leading up to a fight. So the actual day when the fighting broke out between the Ndebele fighters and the Shona fighters, I was actually playing in front of the camp with my friends. So we had visitors at home, and I just went out of the house to play with other kids. And then I ran back when the fight started. I ran back and told my parents that fighting was happening outside, but they couldn't believe it. So I had to actually keep saying, no, fighting is broken out. But they did not believe me. They only believed it when they started hearing gunshots. That's when they believed it. So the fighting was between the Shona ex-combatants and the Ndebele ex-combatants, Zipra versus Zanla. The reason why they were fighting was very, very simple. Joshua Nkomo at that time had decided that he wanted to have more control. So he wanted to have more control around the areas in Matebeleland. So they were part of the group which was within Zipra that felt that Matebeleland should become a separate state. That was basically what was happening. So they had kept weapons, and now they started to fight within the camp. As they started to fight, other members of Zipra that were not in the camps came to support the members that were in the camp at Entumbane. But the Rhodesians, who were still in control of the army, brought the aircraft and they started to shoot the people that were coming into the city. So a number of Zipra forces were killed, including a tanker. So there was a tanker that was going towards Bulawayo, and that tanker was shot by a jet from the Air Force. So this is the kind of stuff that I believe most people don't know, but it's there online. If you can go and check, you'll see what I'm talking about. Then what happened is that night, I think this whole thing happened during the day. So in the evening, we realized that we could not stay in Entumbane because there was a lot of fighting between the tribes. So if you're of the Shona tribe or if you're of the Ndebele tribe, there was fighting. So people were getting killed, and the people who were getting killed at that time, I believe, were Shona people. They were being killed by the guys who came out of the camp. The guys said we're no longer part of this integration, and they went into the suburb. So myself, my mom, and my father, we walked to our uncle who stayed in number 6. The area was called number 6. We started to walk there. And if you know this area, this is where Joshua Ngomo had his house. So we walked past Disque, and when we got to Disque, we saw an army truck loading dead bodies, injured people into a truck. I remember seeing that myself. I was very, very young, I think about 7 years old. But I can still remember this vision of all these people being thrown into the trucks, the bodies that were being thrown into the trucks. But we proceeded past. When we crossed over, I think the suburb is called Njube, on the right. As we were passing through the bushy area, some guys came from the front, running away, and they told us to take cover because there were people who were shooting from the front. So we actually saw the guys who were shooting. They were shooting at each other from across the bushy area that is there around Njube and Mpopoma. They were shooting at each other. So we took cover, and after some time, let's say 30 minutes, they went away and walked towards number 6. As we got to number 6, unfortunately for us, immediately we got to number 6. As we were walking, 3 guys from Zapu on bikes, on motorbikes, approached us. Because this is Nkomo's house is very close to that area. They approached us, no queries, and they were just about to attack my father. So they were holding no queries and they were just going after him. They were wearing vests. I remember very well what they were wearing. And they started to try to attack him. That very moment, lucky for us, a van full of soldiers arrived. And that is how we were saved from being attacked. They just told us to go. They took those guys, took their motorbikes, put them in the army truck, and went away. So the reason why I'm telling you this story is that there are some people that want to misrepresent in Matebeleland to say that the war was just an immediate deployment by a powerful Mugabe into Matebeleland, and then it was a tribal war between Shonas and Ndebeles. This is not true. And I also want to emphasize that there are some people that think they can benefit from the Kurahundi issue not being solved, which is very unfortunate because there are many people that genuinely got hurt during the Kurahundi area. People who were killed, people who are now without parents, people without birth certificates. These people need a solution. So at the moment, there's an initiative by Idi Mnangagwa and his government to do some sort of truth-telling, reburial and compensation. And I've been speaking about this issue over the past few days. So I want to continue talking about this, and I'm going to bring guests to talk about this issue. What I want to make clear is that soon after the War of Independence in Zimbabwe, Mugabe was not totally in charge of the army. There was also a lot of infiltration from the South Africans who were infiltrating the Zimbabwe National Army. They were bombing in Zimbabwe, they were bombing in Harare. There was a lot of sabotage of the oil pipeline. So Mugabe did not trust the army. But the British and the Rhodesians were totally in control of the situation. However, the issue of Entumbane is critical. If you understand the issue of Entumbane, you understand why Mugabe ended up making a deployment in Matabeleland. The mistake that many people are making is to assume that the total truth is known. What I'm saying is that the total truth of what happened during Gukurahundi is not known. So any effort to bring about clarity should be welcomed, and people should jump onto that effort. I was talking to my friends yesterday, and they were saying the only way we can solve the Gukurahundi issue is if Nelson Chamisa comes in, and then he can set up a commission because he's an independent person. Alternatively, international people can come in and set up a commission and then investigate the issues. I do not think those are the right approaches. The right approach is to have Idi Mnangagwa and Parents Shiri in there talking about what happened during Gukurahundi, finding out what happened, because these guys were critical. The one was in state security, one was the commander of the 5th Brigade. So it's important, firstly, not try to use Gukurahundi for politics. Secondly, it's important to make sure that this process starts as soon as possible. So I am personally saying, for example, the issue of Entumbane, there needs to be investigation. What happened? How many people were killed? How many Shona people were killed in Entumbane? How many Malawian people? How many Ndebele people? How many people were maimed by these explosives? What happened during the time when there was fighting in Bulawayo? The 6 commanders of ZAPU that were killed by the Rhodesians, what happened? Who deployed them? Where were they based? Why were they not in the integration camp? There are a lot of questions which are at a very high level that cannot be answered by a simplistic approach to this issue of Gukurahundi, which is what many people are trying to do. Many people are trying to make the issue of Gukurahundi a tribal issue, whereas there are many issues to do with poor planning, poor integration, legacy issues from the time when ZAPU and ZANU split up. So the whole truth needs to be told. But we cannot wait for ideal conditions, which is why I'm saying it's important for people to start right now, to jump onto this process that is there and provide as much information as possible, provide as much visibility as possible to this process, so that people start to understand, people start to come forward. Because as time goes on, people who are involved in this whole thing die. And as these people die, we lose information. And then we end up with myths, we end up with opinions. Whereas the people that were actually involved in Gukurahundi are there. So I want to end it here today. I want my WhatsApp audience to get this video, so I keep it very, very short. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to participate in this discussion, WhatsApp me and let's talk. Thank you very much.